like to welcome you to another Doctor Who Corner to Corner.
There you go. Let's do that.
Oh, brilliant.
We'll
Hey,
go
look
with
at
that. That's why we have professionals on this, rather than us sort of scrabbling around. If I sound a little bit nervous, it's because we have got with us none other than the Doctor himself, Mr. Colin Baker. Sir, you are looking fabulous, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. It is an absolute pleasure and a delight and a long-held dream to meet you, even if virtually over to internet.
Thank you, and don't be nervous. I can't bear nervous people.
Yeah, well, I'm full of confidence, really. I'm just putting it on to make up for the mistakes.
So, how are you this fine morning?
I'm fine, thank you. Looking out the window, it's bright and cheerful. It's been raining all night, so presumably I haven't heard anything about the water supply lately, have you?
Don't jinx it.
Are we still in a drought?
No, we're okay here, but yeah.
Where are you?
I'm in Horsham in West Sussex.
Oh, are you?
I'm from West Sussex.
Horsham in West Sussex.
I'm out from the sticks. So I'd be out here in Wiltshire, but at least the grass is nice and green. You know what I mean? It's lovely out there with all that rain and sunshine and everything. It's very nice.
Yeah, lovely. Very nice.
Very
indeed.
nice indeed. Yes.
Sorry, I'm making you divert from your.
It's all right.
Your plan.
No, it's all good.
I don't mind.
So we've got quite a few questions here for you, Colin. And,
good. So you have
on our headed paper there. So our first question is: we're a few days away from Power of the Doctor going out, and we wondered what your thoughts and feelings were at this point.
Well, I can't wait to see all these other people except me in it. All the rumours going round about who's in it.
Yes, we've seen all of those. Yeah.
Yes, all these companions. They're pulling the dregs out, aren't they? You've got doctors. Why get the minnows? That's what I say.
Yes. Why didn't they bring you in, Colin? They absolutely should have done, huh? Not only this one, but all the other ones as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Or is that a ruse to throw us off the scent?
Oh yeah. She's not in it at all. Me, but the prosthetics are amazing. You'd think it was her, but it's
the blonde wig's working. Yeah, works well. Yeah.
Well, not wearing it. Oh no, I wore it for quite a while, but I've stopped wearing it now.
So we're both big fans of Jodie's Doctor, and we know you're quite a fan as well.
I am.
What is it that what did you particularly like about her incarnation?
Well, the moment she hit the deck, as it were, I realised immediately, and funny enough, I just read an interview with her, and she used the same word herself about the experience. But the one thing I got from it, which I haven't had from any other Doctor, including myself, is joy, which is perhaps a more feminine characteristic than it is male. But, she was so pleased to find out who she was. And, the way she made her own sonic screwdriver. I just found all that charming and enchanting. And isn't it about time we had a female Doctor? I mean, all those doctors, they change every single bit of their anatomy, except one little bit.
Just
doesn't make no sense to me. Yeah. Speak for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It felt like all the Doctors have had an element of joy to them, and hope and optimism is quite a core part of the character, but it was particularly kind of prominent with Jodie's Doctor, wasn't it? And like you said, making the Sonic herself and things like that was brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're
I'll be
big
brutally
fans
honest. I've only watched the first 3 or 4 episodes.
Oh, really?
And they're all on my Sky disc. That's the trouble with having the ability to record programs, because you set them up for that day when you're going to be all on your own for a week, and you think, right, I'll binge watch that lot. My Sky dish packed up a couple of weeks ago.
No,
so I've lost them.
Oh no,
horror!
Yeah, but mind you can get them anyway, so that's no longer a problem.
Yeah,
but so I haven't watched. I particularly loved the Rosa Parks. I loved the Rosa Parks episode. That's what Doctor Who.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that was.
That is what Doctor
That's a chilling episode in its reality. I think one thing these stories have done is they've taken some very human traits which are really demonic, and they exist, and they throw those up against the Doctor as the monster that has to be defeated, which really gives it an added dimension, I think.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah, it was brilliant. So we'll come back to Doctor Who shortly. So tell us what you're up to at the moment, because I know, but our listeners would like to hear.
I'm up to that. Where's it?
Colin holds up a flyer advertising The Hound of the Baskervilles, the greatest detective story ever told, in which he stars as Sherlock Holmes himself, with Davros actor Terry Malloy playing Dr. Watson, Sherlock Holmes's best friend and ever faithful companion. There you go. How's that?
I've got to take you with me everywhere.
There you go, that'll do. I'm cheap. Don't worry about it. Just a few beers and I'm fine.
Doing all this self-advertising. Next week I start rehearsing that. We're touring not the United Kingdom, England. We're touring England with it. Places as far-flung as Paynton in the south and Bridlington in the north.
Fabulous.
And we'll be there. One-nighters, and it's done as a radio play.
Yes, that's interesting. Yeah.
So it's like you are the privileged viewers in a radio studio run by the BBC, where all these actors are sitting round indolently, leaping to their feet, rushing to a microphone, and there are some doing special effects, howling winds and howling dogs and howling actors. All the howling is done by special effects. Lots of howling. And I'm looking forward to it.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Great.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It's one-nighters, so it's going to be quite intensive. When you
I looked at the
Bridlington and you're in Lancaster the next day.
Yeah.
It's quite push. You did quite a bit of theatre work, don't you, Colin?
Theatre work?
Yeah.
Did you say?
Yes, you do quite a bit.
Well, I haven't done it for 3 years, funnily enough, but kind of COVID contributed to that. I suppose throughout my career I've had a pretty even mix between theatre and film and television, which is quite nice, really.
Yeah, that's good. Which one do you like the most, or do you kind of favour them all equally?
Well, whichever I haven't done much of lately is usually
that's the one you yearn for. Yeah.
If I've done 6 months of filming, I can't wait to get back on a stage where the director can't mess up what you've done.
It's out there now. It's too late. You can't change it.
When the camera stops rolling and you go away, that precious moment that you thought was your finest hour, clip, gone.
No,
it's in someone else's hands.
They're looking at someone else when you're saying it. On stage, you can pretty much. It's very rare for a director to walk on stage and shout at you when there's an audience there. It has happened.
I was going to say,
Really?
There have been a few productions there.
It happened to me.
No, it didn't.
In 1970, yes, it did.
Did it, really?
We were doing, there were 4 of us as young actors.
Indeed.
Doing a tour of, funny enough, your neck of the woods around Horsham.
Oh, really?
Guildford and all those places.
Yep.
We were in a youth club in Guildford on a Saturday morning doing Shakespeare. No, it wasn't. It was 1966 and all that, which was about modern theatre. And we hadn't got a massive audience. And after the interval, there was one person left. One boy sitting on the front row, looking kind of vacant. And the 2 actors, myself and another actor, came on stage to do the little bit we were doing, clocked that, and we both a ploy an actor sometimes takes to distract from himself if he's about to laugh when he shouldn't, i.e. corpse, to grab something, to look at it intently. And we both grabbed for the same prop, looked at it intently and banged our heads together and sank to the floor laughing. The director came on stage, shouted at us, ordered us off the stage, apologised to the somnolent member of the audience on the front row, and made us do it again. I've improved it.
But for me, when it...
Well, and also, I was going to say, it's quite unusual to get a second take on theatre, isn't it? So
It is. It is, yeah.
And partly, I mean, when I go to see a theatre, that's the sort of thing I love. It's that improvised mistakes or improvised covering for mistakes and things that happen only when you're there. They don't happen any other night. It makes it more of a unique experience.
Mind you, there are certain members of my profession who like to do that deliberately.
Yes.
And they like, and if you went back see the same play 3 nights later, you'd find it accidentally happened again.
Accidentally, yeah.
I'm afraid.
Accidentally
And I
on
don't
purpose.
approve of that. I don't.
Yes.
I hate it. If it happens, something happens, you have to cope with that. That's fine. But doing it deliberately, I think, is cheating.
Yeah, because you think, the audience loved that when we banged our heads together. Let's do it again, and then you end up just nothing more than a headache.
Yeah. It takes the spontaneity out of it.
And certainly, there is an element of those who would get a laugh at the expense of anything else. I remember once falling out with an actor. I was playing Captain Hook, and he was playing Smee. And we're in this magical lagoon on a boat, drifting across. And he has an oar, which he's supposed to mime rowing with. He stuck it out, banged the stage with it, and said, "This water's hard, Captain." All the kids in the audience stopped believing it was a mystical lagoon, and he got an eye.
Breaking the fourth wall.
And I said, "Don't do that." And in the end, we had to confiscate the oar off him because he kept on doing it.
Just smack him around the head with it. That probably would.
Because the magic is the first thing for me.
Yes. But particularly in a kids' production as well, in something like that. Yeah.
So Hand of the Baskervilles, you're there, as we said, with Terry Malloy, who played your Davros to your Doctor, right? That must be a lot of fun.
Yeah. My mate Tezza, I've worked with him in theatre before. We did a panto in Norwich some years ago, and I've worked with him twice in Doctor Who. Once as Davros, and once he was playing a visible human being.
Russell in Attack of the Cybermen, yeah.
Very good. I'm impressed. Yeah. So it was nice to actually see and know him, and he's a good mate. He's provided me with many wonderful things in life. The first being Crocs. I said, "What are you wearing?" This was when we were doing the panto. He said, "Oh, they're so comfortable, Crocs."
Crocs, the shoes.
And he said, "Try them." And they are comfortable. From that day, I don't have another pair of shoes. All I have is Crocs. I get scorn, I get derision, and I get comfort.
Doesn't matter.
So,
comfort's the important thing. Yeah, that's it.
The big question is, will Sherlock Holmes be allowed to wear Crocs?
Dun, dun,
We have yet to find out. The other thing he gave me was technology. He was one of the first ones to have I knew that had an Apple iPhone and an iPad and all those things. And he said, you want to get these? I got them. So he's a trendsetter in Terry Malloy.
Yeah. That seems quite fitting for Davros to have an iPhone and an iPad and stuff, doesn't it? They could update his. Maybe Davros is rocking some Crocs underneath his Dalek.
So I'm going to be thinking about that now. Revelation of the Daleks is absolutely one of my top Dalek stories, and now the idea of Davros wearing Crocs as he shuffles around, spouting all his stuff, is just going to make me titter.
I've still got his finger somewhere in this room.
When I put Davros' finger. I found it. There it is.
When his hand blew up.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that bit.
I do remember that
bit,
yeah.
And when we started shooting again, I was rather naughty. I tried to be good, but I didn't always succeed. And my next line, I had Davros' finger stuck up my nose, as if it had blown there. And the director said, "Would you kindly not do that?" And I removed it. But after having been up my nose, they allowed me to keep it.
they didn't want it back. No, it's like, keep that. It was Graham Harper, wasn't it? Was he directing it? It was. It was. Who also directed a few in the new series.
Yeah, he did. Didn't he?
He's a lovely fellow, Graham Harper.
Yeah.
I knew him when he was an assistant floor manager on War and Peace.
Oh, really?
1970. Yeah.
Yeah, nice to see someone move up through the ranks like that.
He had a way of doing it. I mean, it seems. I mean, he did your story, The Revelation of the Daleks, and he did The Caves of Androzani. And one thing, you look at those, they are so different to a lot of other stories around it. He kind of breaks that, or he breaks that sort of multi-camera setup, doesn't he? And shoots it almost like it's a single camera film, like modern day style. It's really effective.
Well, he was the first director some of the early directors I worked with in television would have little circles drawn on the floor in the rehearsal room where the camera was, and you had to, and he would, it would all be plotted like a military operation.
Yes.
Graham Harper was the first one I walked with, who left the control room, ran downstairs, and stood behind the cameraman and said, "Oh, get that over there now,
Really?
get that," and everyone loved him
Yeah.
because he was creating right at the last moment. Good director.
Yeah, taking it from that kind of filming theatre show almost, wasn't it, with the multicam, but then taking it, like Paul said, into more filmic and TV and style, and developing that, So let's talk about Big Finish for a moment. When you got that call 20 odd years ago about Sirens of Time, how did you feel? It was more than 20.
Jeff, you make me feel old, mate.
It was, wasn't it? Well, it was late 80s, wasn't it? Was it
I
late
think
90s?
so, yeah.
Late
No, it was
90s, I think.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, it would have been 20 odd years ago,
Yeah. But it's a long time anyway. I'm overjoyed. Well, A, I like working. B, I knew all the people because, they... Nick Briggs, bless him, I got him his first acting job.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was a very good writer. He was he worked for various magazines and companies, and he wanted to have a go at acting. So I introduced him to a director and set him on his path to being the voice of the Daleks and the Cybermen and the head honcho of Big Finish.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well,
he wrote my
Big
Finish regeneration story that I never got. And it was because I'd always kind of resisted that because that's the fella. I quite like the idea of Sylvester not being a legitimate doctor because I wasn't there when it regenerated. So he was like those medieval popes, that weren't really popes. He wasn't really a doctor. So I was actually the doctor for 20 odd years, longest running doctor.
I like that. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Strict regeneration code.
Yeah.
But in the end, I decided he needed to be legitimised, and Nick Briggs wrote that story, which was fantastic because it dovetailed perfectly with the first second of Sylvester's story, and yet it gave me a thunderous, wonderful departure. So I was very pleased with that.
I haven't listened to it yet.
Oh boy!
I know it's almost like
it's a long listen, of course.
It's a big epic thing, isn't it? But it's like if I, as soon as I do that then and I listen to it, it's like your doctor then ends. I know there's lots of stories that you can dip into, but it's like the official end, and it's like I don't want the sixth Doctor to end. I just want to hear more and more and six. So you've got to keep churning more stuff out, Colin. It's just.
I did get some response. Oh dear, that means we get no more Sixth Doctor. Why?
It's
all out of order.
Yeah, you can always come back in some wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, adventure. It's never really over.
There was a point in the early days of Big Finish when I had done more stories than any other Doctor.
Yeah,
really.
I'd even beaten Tom, but now he started doing them.
Yeah, he's catching up quickly, isn't he?
Yeah, he's overtaken. But we're all doing them now,
Yeah, David did a few, didn't he? And
Jodie will be hard on it very soon.
Yeah.
Great.
I hope so.
That'd be brilliant. Yeah. So, how often do you record for them?
Well, it goes in spurts. I did about 10 at the beginning of the year, and then I haven't done any since March, I don't think.
Right. Okay.
But I did one 2 days ago.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, brilliant.
And some more coming before Christmas. But unfortunately, my tour has prevented that from happening.
Right.
They get cross, apparently, if I say what they're about and who they're with. But,
yes.
People tend to do that, don't they?
We talked to Lauren Cornelius recently, who plays Dodo in the first Doctor series, and she was the same. She couldn't tell us anything good. She was very cagey about what was going on.
She's just done one. Lauren's just done one with my daughter.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Rosie is an actress, and she's done a few now, and it's quite nice that there's another Baker, especially after Peter Davison's entire family.
yes.
yeah, yeah.
So talented
Yeah, that-
Doctor Who
He's
now.
managed to get him in
They've
there,
taken
hasn't he? He's
over,
done
yeah.
pretty well on that.
Yeah,
They're in on talent. They are in
Yeah.
on talent, but
yeah.
as
yeah.
I hope Rosie is, which she is. I know
Brilliant.
Oh, brilliant! I will.
Yeah,
We'll listen out for that one. That sounds good. So, you probably can't answer this, but I'm quite a big fan of Six and Mrs. Constance
really
Clark
is.
and Flip as well.
Never stops talking about
and we just did a Halloween podcast talking about some
We
of our
did,
favourite scary
yes.
stories. And,
That was fun.
And, Static was one of mine. It's a great story. So I just wondered if you three might be doing anything else together at some point soon.
Oh, dear old Flip. Flip's had COVID
Yeah.
for the last year or so.
Yeah, so I just told Paul earlier. Yeah.
She's got long COVID, and she's still out of action. Bless her. But I
Really?
want to know how she fell out that space. What was it? Space station, spaceship. We never know what happened at the end of a particular story. And I love her. I mean, she's a fabulous girl, and so is Miranda. She's just lovely. She's got my piano.
She's got your piano.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had a piano that my piano playing daughter has got her own and left home, and we was taking up a lot of space. And I was talking about it when Miranda was recording something. Do you know, we'll have it. So she and her daughter play my piano.
Hey.
Oh, I like
Oh,
that.
brilliant.
I thought when you said she has your piano, I thought she'd like half-inched it or something, just snuck it away with
Yeah,
her.
that's
No,
right.
no,
Yeah.
It was given freely and willingly.
Fabulous.
But she's very busy at the moment. She's abroad filming.
Yeah, she is.
So until she comes back, there's a couple of stories waiting to be done with her. So your wish will
brilliant.
be granted.
Oh, fantastic!
I'll keep
I
you
really
happy,
look
Jeff.
forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are great together. Yeah. Paul, have you got a question that you want to?
I'm
bring
quite
up?
interested in Colin's writing, actually, because Colin's, you've written quite a few stories for your Doctor. Do you have plans to write any more, sir?
Yeah, I also have plans, but I also have laziness, and the two things compete. I mean, I really, as I'm tottering into oblivion, I really ought to sit down and write the autobiography.
Yes.
Yeah.
I tell scurrilous stories to my family about things that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. And they keep saying, you must write that down. Yeah. And I still haven't started, so I must.
You must. You definitely must.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Add it to the
And I
others.
want to republish my book. I want to republish my book of short stories. And in order to entrap people to buy it, I'm going to add a few more into it.
Brilliant.
But I suppose there are 3 or 4 short Doctor Who stories in there. Have you read them?
I've read the one that's in this one here, the Target storybook.
Yeah, in the
Love that.
Target book.
Pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I was going to say, would you write a big finish if they asked you to? If you
Yeah.
any ideas that you could do for that, or is that
Well,
quite a big thing?
I have mentioned my interest in doing that to them on occasion. And they said, send us a story breakdown. And I can't be bothered to do that. I said, I'll write you a story, and if you choose to do it, that's fine. And if you don't, tough.
It's your loss, darlings.
Yeah.
I'm kind of. But there was a time I wrote a column in my local paper for 20 years, and there was a brief period where there was a sub-editor who attempted to edit what I was saying.
And a sub at that.
Yeah.
The example I will give is I was talking about I live near the Hambledon Valley where they filmed Vicar of Dibley, so you can imagine the area. And I wrote about a planning application where they had to move a potting shed 6 inches to the right because 6 inches of it was on the area of outstanding natural beauty and the rest of it wasn't. And I said something along, presumably this order was written with a quill as a kind of suggestion about the person who wrote it.
Yeah.
He changed the word quill to pen. And I said, well, of course it was written with a pen.
Yeah.
Why
It loses
nobody knows what a
its
quill is?
meaning.
Well, they never will. And I got her to change it. I went to the editor. But I'm not great at having my wonderful words tinkered
Quite
with.
right too.
And I suspect
No.
Big Finish might want to do that too. I might have to man up.
Well, you get attached to things that you write, don't you? It's like, I make videos and Paul, you do e-learning work and things, and you think, yeah, I'm really pleased with this, and then you send it to someone, and they're like, "Oh, could you just change this shot, please?" And you think, "No, how dare you?" And it spoils everything.
Totally,
then at that point,
I tell you as well. Actually, I had a script which was being filmed for a retailer. How to sort of behave on a shop floor and customer service and all that sort of thing. And I'd written this thing where you had an angry customer and he's kicking off, and he calls a salesperson who's trying to call him down. He calls. I can't remember what the line was, but it's something like he calls him a shopkeeper. You bloody shopkeepers are all the same, like that. And they changed it. I wasn't there. I had to go away. When I came back, I looked at the edit and all the actors had gone. They changed it to salesperson. I'm like, what? No, shopkeeper. He's meaning it as an insult. It's the whole thing, It's like you've just lost it. It's just I was really
salesperson.
With that.
Salesperson. It's not quite as effective, is it?
No. But just before we wrap up on Big Finish, I have to say that this chap here, the Spectre of Lanyon Moore, which I think is your first one, isn't it, is absolutely still...
It was my second or third, I think.
Favourite, was it? Oh, yes, because we had Whispers of Terror and Sirens of Time, wasn't it? But yeah good point, yeah. But it's a great one. That reunited you. Oh, actually not reunited you. Put you with the Brigadier, wasn't it?
Yeah. And one of my short stories is with the Brig in my book, Gallimorphry, which I want to republish.
Excellent.
I loved him.
Yeah.
He was. The trouble with losing so many lovely people, and he was one of them. He and I were both equity councillors back in the 80s,
really?
And we became good friends. And he was one of the nicest, gentlest men, as well as being a good actor. Yeah, there are people in life that you get used to the fact they're not around. And there's two or three that I haven't got used to him not being around.
Yeah.
And John Nathan Turner, who became a good friend, I often think, he was the producer of Doctor. I know you know that, but the listener may not. Every now and then I think, I must tell John that, and I can't.
Yeah, you never quite get used to some people, do you? Did you get on really well with John Nathan Turner in the end, or was it still quite? Was it quite?
Oh, always. I always got on well with him. There was only one time when he shouted at me. That was when the temperature was 110 and we were filming in Spain.
Oh, yes.
Two
Doctors.
And I had words with his boyfriend, who was the production manager, and he defended his production manager boyfriend. Fair enough.
Gary Downey, wasn't it, I think?
Gary Downey, it was indeed. And that's the only time we ever nearly fell out.
Yeah. That's all right, isn't it? I mean, so what was it like in Spain then, filming with Pat Troughton was there as well, Jacqueline Pearce? That must have been a bit of a laugh, was it?
Oh, it was lovely because, Pat was the governor for me because, I'm on record of saying that without him, there wouldn't be a Sixth Doctor. If he hadn't done the second so brilliantly and changed flipped the programme on its head and come out with that wonderful character, that would have been the end of Doctor Who. Yeah. And he was a nice man. I shared a flat with his son when I was a young actor, and so I was David's best man when he got married, and of course I met Pat then. And there were so many stories about him. I said to him once, I've never seen you in a play in the West End, Why isn't your name above the title in the West End? He said, oh, no, I stopped doing all that shouting in the evening years ago.
That's what he called it.
Just a wonderful definition of stage acting.
Shouting in the evening.
Shouting in the evening. I'd rather go home and have my dinner, he said. It was blooming brilliant. And he had that perfect career, that bubbling under career. Never quite... I mean, if you did a movie, he wouldn't be the headliner.
But he'd be in it somewhere.
He was always there, sitting just under the title and having a wonderful career.
Yeah, it's the sort of career that you can be successful, do a lot of work, do some quite big stuff, but the level of fame isn't the sort of level that could get in the way of. Yeah. It's
people
quite
like
a
Freddie
nice.
Jones and all those characters who were just fine actors.
But you always enjoy seeing them in the things that they're in, because I remember seeing, Jason and the Argonauts, which is a film I've seen umpteen times when I was a kid, and I hadn't watched it for years, and I watched it I think it was last year when it was on at Christmas, and I thought, oh my God, that's Pat Troughton in there, playing that bit where he fights off the harpies and what have you, and he does it so brilliantly. It's such a joy, I think, to see people in
they were brilliant, those films. I loved them as well.
Yeah.
That skeleton.
It's
Yes, yeah, I remember
Ray
seeing
Harryhausen.
that from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was the first genius of what was
Special
it?
effects and stop motion
Yeah,
animation, wasn't
yeah,
it?
stop
Stop
motion.
motion,
Yeah,
Yeah, he was the master of all
Yeah.
of that stuff. I'm actually a stop motion character from Ray Harryhausen. It's actually true. So that's how good he is.
Yeah.
yeah. You can't leave that room.
No,
'cause
that's
then
it.
you
Yeah,
fall
I'll just
apart, don't
disappear
you?
out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of it's just green screen.
Yeah,
What they can do
It's
now. though.
amazing, ain't it?
yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, even
Yeah.
I was watching Strictly. the
Oh
other night,
yes, and they do things on the ballroom, don't they? On the floor.
and they had
On the
an
floor, yeah.
aeroplane flying through, and it's all superimposed on the. I thought, how the blooming heck have they done
Why did
that?
you say down
Yeah,
there?
I had the
It's
exact
not
same
magic,
thought
innit?
when I saw it. I stopped watching what's going on and trying to work out how that
Yeah.
floor is done. You know?
They had these weird sheep on there the other night, didn't they? Did you see that?
Yeah.
It was bizarre.
Yeah.
Kind of I didn't know if I was in some kind of fever dream or if it was real or whatever.
But it's so easy to do now. I was lucky enough when I went over to New Zealand to be invited to Weta.
Oh yeah, the workshop, yeah.
Where they do all the
Fantastic.
special effects for
Lord of the Rings.
the Hobbit movies and all that.
Yeah,
And they said they had trouble at the beginning because they couldn't get enough people to do the digital special effects. So they went out to all the schools. They changed the software so it could be done with a joystick
Yeah.
instead of computer keyboard. And they got kids
It's
in.
amazing, isn't it?
And the kids
really.
were, writing all the programs with the joystick
Yeah.
and the A/B button faster than the pros could do it.
Yeah,
They're used to using that equipment.
Yeah.
So if a 14-year-old can have 1,000 orcs
Yeah.
coming down at that, it's limitless what they can
Yeah.
do.
yeah. It's incredible, isn't it? Yeah, where to put out some amazing work.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, really. Yeah. I've got a question here for you, Colin. This is from
Uh-oh.
Michelle on Twitter, who's at Sixie fan. You might recognise.
Oh, Michelle, I
her
know
name.
Michelle. Hello,
Yeah.
Michelle.
She says, if you could only live on one meal for a year, what would it be?
Bloody big one.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, quite right.
I think it should means one thing over and over again rather than one
Yeah.
big plate of food.
What? Yeah.
Oh, it might have to be my wife's brilliant creation, which I had last night, which we call Mexican supper.
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
A
Well,
Mexican
that's
supper
something, yeah.
is basically sausage and mash, right? But the sausage are chopped up, and the mash, and it's all in one great pot with bacon and whatever she makes it with. I don't know what she makes it with.
Is it
And
beans in there as well?
Beans,
Beans.
baked beans, yes.
Yeah.
And
Love a good
I should be having a little of that as my lunch later.
Mm.
And I could tolerate that for eternity. Otherwise, what would it be? Maybe smoked salmon with poached egg on top. I quite like that. Can I have one for breakfast, one for lunch, and one for dinner?
Yeah, I think we can allow that. Yeah.
What do you have? What would you have?
Oh,
Yeah, that's got him thinking now. Look at that. See the cogs
yeah.
going around in his head.
So you know what it's like being an
Yeah.
interviewee now.
Just put on
Yeah.
the spot, just like that.
I don't know.
some. Oh, I'm going to say some form of pizza.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You put
You see,
steak and
cheese
chips
makes
on
me ill, so
it.
I don't eat cheese.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
What would
For
you
me,
have? Paul?
I tell you what, mate, I do a mean chili. I could eat my chili for eternity, and I will.
He's vainglorious, isn't he?
I love
My
it.
chili.
Yeah, my chili.
Not
yeah.
what made by
No,
anybody
no,
else.
no. See, my wife can make it, but she makes her chili, and it's not as good as mine. So, credit where it's due, to be honest, guys. Not
I
gonna
take
lie.
it you won't be showing her this.
yeah. She can't hear this bit. Yeah.
It's like my wife, the last thing she wants to do is watch me on a podcast.
Well, I think between the three of us, we've got some quite good food
Yeah, I think
options
so.
there.
Yeah.
So there's
Thanks for the
nothing in
question,
the
Michelle.
rules.
Good question.
Good question.
Brilliant
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Good question. Yeah.
I play Words with Friends with her, and she started beating me, which is a bit annoying.
That's not good.
Watch it.
Yeah. Watch it, Michelle. Yeah.
We have another one from Twitter actually. This is this at Joby_Little who asks,
Yeah.
how has the Doctor Who fandom changed over the years, and did you realise the Doctor would still be part of your life 40 years later?
the latter part of the question, one of the first things that when John Nathan Turner asked me to play the part, he took me upstairs at the BBC to meet a man called John Reed, who was head of series and serials at that point. And he said, "You do realise that 40 years from now, you'll still be the Doctor, don't you?" And I said, "No, I hadn't, but that's okay by me." He said, "Oh, good, as long as you're ready for it." And he told me about conventions and things like that. I didn't realise the extent to which it would be the case, because there are TV programmes that were on 30 or 40 years ago that actors that were in them are still remembered for that part. Poldark, I suppose, might be one of them, and things like that. But nothing to match Doctor Who. I could be walking through a town in the middle of America, and someone goes, "Hey, Doc,"
really,
and it's going to be eternal. Of course it is.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky. What other profession? How many plumbers get stopped in the street and said, "Hey, that bend you put in for me 35 years ago. It's still working, drip free. Thank you. Sign this." So I'm not one of those actors that goes, "Oh no, I can't bother to sign autographs. I'm far too important." But there are a few of them, not many, thank God.
Yeah, it's a great position to be in, isn't it?
Yeah.
To have had that impact on people's lives. Yeah.
I mean, it can be troublesome at times. My family realised that once when we were at some family event. I think it was at a stately home near here. And a woman marched up to me, grabbed my stomach, shook it up and down, and said, "You put on weight since you played Doctor Who, haven't you?" And we all looked at each other, and I said, "And you've got a huge bottom."
No.
And she said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You've got a big bottom." And she said, "That's very rude." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was our relationship. I thought you started
off." This was going, yeah.
And she stormed off. But my kids thought it was very funny.
Brilliant.
So, next year is the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So, are you and the other classics planning anything like the Five-ish Doctors reboot?
The classics. Whenever we're together, we kind of talk about it. And the spirit is willing. But the important thing is, the first time we did Five-ish Doctors, it was done for nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody paid a penny for it. No cameraman, nobody. The crew all volunteered their time. We volunteered our time. Peter wrote it. We added to it. We changed it. We rehearsed it, and we did it. And it was good. It was good. I have to say, I've watched that more than I've watched myself in any of my Doctor Who's. And each time I watch it, I laugh.
It's so good. Yeah.
I find it funny. So it's got to be as good as that, preferably better, and it's got to cost nothing.
Yeah.
And you can't get people to do stuff for nothing more than once. Well, you can, and we probably would, but I'm not sure that all the crew you need would. And actually now Russell T Davies is back, he might facilitate that kind of thing, because he is A, a lover of the programme, and B, a thoroughly good, clever, genius producer.
Yeah.
And he would probably like it. So I think we would have a chance. But as Peter always says, because it was his baby, he's had a few ideas, and I've had a couple of ideas, but we haven't really crystallised anything yet. But it may well be that it doesn't happen. But if it does, it would be a joy to do.
Yeah. It's one of my favourite things of the 50th anniversary. Like you said, Colin, you could watch it so many times and still find something funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the characterisation. I mean, of everybody, it's like the sort of heightened satirical versions of themselves. But Russell's is brilliant. He's always ringing up Stephen Moffat trying to pitch a script and everything. It's so hilarious. It's like, one minute you're up, but when you're down. That's it.
John Barrowman with his family.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's so much fun. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's good. Well, tell Peter that well, the pair of you need to get writing.
Get on with it. Come on.
If you're going to get something shot and out for next November, time is ticking.
Yeah. If you're ever, by the way, if you're ever looking for people to do anything for free, hi, we're here. So just give us a shout. We'll be there, Colin. We'll rock out.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Whatever you like. I don't care. Whatever you need. Whatever you need. Yep, I could do that.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm a camera guy. I've got a couple of cameras here I can edit. So
right.
Okay.
Paul
will do the Paul will do the voiceovers.
I'll do all my own stunts as well.
You know.
So if you need anyone to fall over, I'm your main. Yeah.
So did
I'd like to film.
When I played
I'd like
Doctor
to
Who,
film
I
that.
think I'm the only one that did everything. There was
Really?
nobody ever stood in for me.
You did a lot of running around. I was watching a few over the week again, just to reacquaint myself. And you are a very, very dynamic Doctor, Colin. I think you know, Peter had kind of started that, but you took it to a whole new level with the colours and the temperament and the kind of here, there, everywhere, rushing around, never standing still for a second. Brilliant.
Yeah, well, if you stand still, they find out you're doing it wrong.
But I love Sixie. I mean, he's a great Doctor, and you know, he kind of came along when I was in my sort of early teens, and I was just getting into. Sorry, mate. I was just kind of getting into the whole fan thing and watching it, and you know, learning about the history of the show and discovering all those stories, and at the same time, Peter Davison, or the Fifth Doctor, was transforming into the Sixth Doctor, and it was you, and I just remember that moment when you kind of sat up at the end of the Caves of Androzani and just come out of that. You were expecting someone else, or it's just what? And I only have to wait until next week to find out what the Sixth Doctor is really like. Crikey, that was a moment.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But it's like, you know, you sort of grow up with these things.
For no particular reason. Did you see the tweet about Rihanna apparently is a Doctor Who fan?
Really?
And she was being interviewed about something and said that she loves Sylvester McCoy because he was so sweet and little. I just want to pick him up and throw him.
I don't think you'd appreciate that so much. Maybe the picking up, but not the throwing.
He's heard about it. And when I started reading, I thought, oh, Sylvester McCoy didn't like me. Oh, good. She wanted to pick him up and throw him.
She'll have trouble doing that with the Sixth Doctor, I'm sure.
Rihanna. The idea of Rihanna picking up the Seventh Doctor is just bliss.
Yeah, that is not the sort of person you'd expect to be a fan of the show, is it?
No.
It shows how much it reaches
Well,
people. Yeah.
I was doing this Big Finish 2 days ago, and someone said, "Oh, someone wants to come in and watch recording." We were doing the recording with Bonnie, and they said someone wants to come in and watch because they're a Doctor Who fan. His name's Martin O'Neill. I said, "Oh, not the famous football manager." They said, "Yeah." I said, "What?" He came in. I said, "Martin O'Neill, I am your #1 fan."
Oh, yes.
And he said, "Oh, I know," and it was lovely actually.
Oh, brilliant.
You don't often think of football managers who want to watch Doctor Who. It was rather nice. Sorry, that took a long while.
No, that's right.
But that's the thing about fans. I mean, it's I mean, you know, Doctor Who seems to me to have gone through. I mean, it always shifts and changes, but people's perception of Doctor Who and their attitude towards it seems to change as well. And there seems to be a moment. I mean, I think towards the end of the 80s, it was on a bit of a downturn. It felt like to me as if I was always trying to prove to my friends that it's actually really good. They just didn't understand it. But it was like, you know, I'm up against this wall of objections like, well, it's just a kids' program. Nobody likes it anymore. It's a bit rubbish. It's a bit daft. All their sets fall down, blah, blah, blah. And now, of course, it's kind of cool again. You know, and you hear people talking about it. And, you know, was it...
Where were you brought up?
Me? I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, Colin. I was. No,
I'm talking about your accent.
My accent. I'm a bit of everything, really. I was born in Yorkshire, lived in the northeast for a while, and I've been in London, 10, and now I'm over in Wiltshire, so it kind of moves around a bit.
Yeah, I thought when you went straight into that northern voice, I thought he's Lancashire or Yorkshire.
Yorkshire, born and bred. Well, born at least, anyway. I don't know about breeding. Breeding's a very different game, lad.
You're right there, lad. You're right there.
Talk to me about breeding. I'll knock it out.
I'll see you at Ginnell.
At Ginnell, Colin. I'll be there, sunshine. Yeah. Paint up for thee.
Up top at Brew.
Top at Brew, I know it.
I was a Rochdale lad, you see.
Oh, yeah, Rochdale. I've been there a few times, yeah.
Yeah, just over the top.
Yes. Anyway, we digress. Sorry, yeah.
I can't do an accent like that, so I'm staying silent.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Paul.
It's
you.
very
That's
cultured.
kind of you.
What are we talking about anyway? We're talking about, yes, Doctor Who being cool and sometimes not cool. But when you see people like Rihanna and was it Ryan Reynolds who wore the T-shirt with Shooty Gat?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
is it Ryan Reynolds, Jeff?
Ryan
Ryan Gosling. When you see Ryan Gosling
Yeah.
wearing a T-shirt and everything, it's amazing. It kind of, it's like, all the, Doctor Who's great.
It goes in fits and starts, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's exciting times for the show.
Indeed,
at the
it is.
moment,
Yes.
it's popular again. So you just mentioned recording with Bonnie there, so that leads me into asking you what it's been like reuniting with other cast members when you do Behind the Sofa on the collection sets.
I love those.
They're one of the highlights.
I
aren't
love
they?
them.
They're a highlight.
Yeah, and apparently I haven't seen it because I was interviewed by Matthew Sweet for the latest box set, and everyone says what a brilliant interview it is. And I can't remember what I said now, so I must watch it. But they really do go to town with those all those extras on the box.
Yeah.
I suppose that's why people buy them. So because they've seen the show, heaven knows, 1,000 times. But there's all that new stuff and going through those.
Well, yeah, that's it. And the episodes look the best that they probably can possibly look. In Blu-ray and all the extras, and each series, each season is sort of the definitive version of it, isn't it, Paul? You've got sort of almost everything associated with it in terms of visuals and stuff like that, and it's just great building up this complete archive of not just the episodes but everything extra with it as well. It's been really good, and
it's lovely to meet all the old directors that I haven't seen for years or since then sometimes, and to do it with Nicola, who's got a picture in the attic somewhere that she's had since she hasn't changed hardly at all.
No.
And she must be 90, but she doesn't look it. And dear Bonnie, I've known Bonnie since she was a teenager when I did Panto with her in the 70s.
Oh, right.
When she was there with her mum as chaperone. And God, she's good, our Bonnie. She's really... funnily enough, I was watching a programme about the Savoy Hotel last night on television. And in the background of one of the scenes was this huge picture of Bonnie, who was obviously doing something at the theatre there.
She was on one of the buses for the Jubilee, wasn't she? Did you see that?
Yeah, I should have been on that bus, but
I think there was a picture of you on one of the buses, wasn't there?
Why are you asking me? I don't know.
I thought I assumed you'd have watched it. Yeah, or they had different a bus per decade. I'm pretty sure your doctor was on
I
the
live
80s bus.
About 30 miles out of London, and they said, did I want to come and be on the 80s bus? I said, yeah, all right. Will you send a car to come and get me? Oh, no, you've got to make your own way there.
No.
Oh, really? That eventually had an unlimited budget.
Going to London on that day.
Yeah, right.
Park, and apparently there was a big holding compound you had to go to, and you sat there for hours and you were herded onto this bus. So much so I loved Her Majesty, I declined.
Yeah.
Quite right.
Much to my family's horror. You should go on that bus and celebrate. I can celebrate here.
You can do that, yes, indeed. So, Colin, just going back to Doctor Who then, because this is, after all, I suppose, a Doctor Who podcast and everything, do you have any... I mean, I'm sure you do. Could you share with us some of your top moments from your time as the Doctor?
Interesting.
That's one that's going to put you right on the spot, right there.
The first one was the night I came home after my first day in the studio and came into my home, and my wife was sitting in a chair reading something, and I said, I am the Doctor.
Love that. Yes.
And she carried on reading and said, that's nice, dear. Could you put the rubbish out?
Even better.
And that is the microcosm that sums up the life of an actor perfectly.
Yeah.
Yes, you might have your moments of triumph, but you've got to be grounded. And she did that brilliantly for me. Other moments, I don't know, there were flashlight moments. There was a moment in my very first story with the actor who was playing Edgeworth, whose name was
Morris Denham.
I've identified
Was it?
Morris Denham.
Yes, there you go.
Morris Denham. There was an actor playing Edward whose name was Morris Denham,
Yeah.
who was an actor that I've always admired. And we had a little poignant scene where he died
Yes.
at the end.
Yes, I remember.
And that was, for me, that was a wonderful moment to show who my doctor was. And it was very emotional, actually, surprisingly. Because, how old was I? I was 40, and here was this senior actor who was probably the age I am now. And I was working with him, and I was quite pleased and honoured to be working with him.
Yeah.
And it was a lovely little scene. But there's all sorts of moments. I liked the fact that I was the person who was dictating the working atmosphere. Because before then, I'd been on other people's programmes where the leading actors were variable. Some were friendly and welcoming, but others couldn't even be bothered to talk to you because they were a big actor. And I've done a couple of shows where I've done scenes where the actor I've done them with hasn't spoken to me before or after the scene. And that's fewer and fewer now, I have to say. But back in those days, if you were young and unproven, you were beneath contempt for one or two. And I was determined that nobody would come into my time as Doctor Who and feel that they weren't an equal member of the cast. So, even if you had a 2-line or no-line part, I would go and have a chat. And the end result was it was good work, because people work better when they feel valued.
Right.
And
when they're having a good
that
time,
was good. So that's what I'm proudest of, I think. And I hope anyone who was in it would confirm that it was a gentle and pleasant ride.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. Yeah,
it does seem to be kind of a family atmosphere, a camaraderie between the cast and crew, and you see it on the convention circuit again, don't you? I think when you guys all come out, you all sort of know each other, and it's like you're part of a big family or something.
Yeah,
and we take the mick out of each other.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. John Pertwee and Pat Troughton used to do that wonderfully at the convention.
They set the precedent for it. Yeah. So you do quite a lot of conventions, don't you? Are you doing something quite soon as well? I think
I'm doing. I probably am. Yes. I'm going to Germany on Friday.
Oh, really?
Fantastic!
Just outside Frankfurt, and the next one I'm doing is down in Bristol. On my one day off during this tour I'm doing, I'm down to Bristol for a quick event there. So, obviously it all went very quiet over COVID, for very obvious reasons, but it's beginning to surface again.
Do you enjoy doing them? It must be nice meeting the fans.
Yeah, well, it's nice going somewhere where you know that 99% of them are going to be pleasant.
Yeah.
And there's always the one who, they're all pleasant, but there'll be some whose grasp of the social niceties are less firm than others.
Leaves a lot to be desired.
Like the young man once, unfortunately it makes me laugh, but there was a young guy came up once and said, "Oh, hello, Colin Baker. You are my sixth favourite Doctor." And I was demoted while he was talking to me.
He's counting off his fingers.
Yeah, there's some things you should think about before opening your mouth, aren't
there? It's coming from an innocent place. Not an unpleasant place.
It's not mean.
I think it's part of fandom, isn't it? The fact that so many people like to kind of rank things in order, and it's and the trouble is when you rank things, it's like there's always going to be something that's top, and there's always going to be something that is the bottom. And I think, with me personally, I just don't do ranking. It's like, I either like it or I don't, and because I'm a fan of it, actually, I like more of it.
I don't mind people saying, "Oh, Tom Baker's my favourite." That's fair enough. But then going through the list and you find you're at the bottom.
Yeah.
That is a tad.
We don't see the point in that.
My doctor has languished somewhat in some people's eyes, but thankfully Big Finish seemed to rescue me for a lot of people.
Well, and you know what? If people are, if they're sleeping on 6 and skipping things, that's their loss, really. Because the fans, they know what they've got and how good it is. So
I'll drink to that.
Indeed. I have to ask, and I don't know if we've ever had a definitive answer us. I think we probably have, and I might have missed it, but the coat, right? The colourful coat. Did you like it or did you hate it?
It wasn't my choice. John Nathan said, "What would you like to wear?" And I said, "Oh, I'll have a think about that." And I came back to her and I said, "It strikes me that doing what the Doctor does, he might be well advised to have the ability to blend into the background now and then." So I said, "A large black thing that you can envelop yourself in. I think you should be all in black." And he said, "No, that's the master. I think you should be totally tasteless." I said, "Oh, right." He asked Pat Godfrey, who was the designer, to come up with a totally tasteless design. And she kept producing things that were colourful, but not tasteless enough for John. And as a joke, she drew something. That's it, he said. And that's what I got stuck with.
That became the coat.
But I was on the inside looking out. So you all had to look at it. I didn't think it said something about my Doctor that I felt I wanted to say, I'm afraid. But it was all about contrasting with the previous Doctor. Because Peter had been very, nice, straightforward young manish. And he wanted something ebullient. And that's fair enough. But I think the coat was a mistake, to be honest. The only benefit was that now they make figures of all the Doctors. In a world where children are buying them, mine gets sold out very quickly because it's colourful. Kids like that.
You can spot it in a crowd.
And as I get 0.00001 of a penny for every million sold, I'm richer than the other Doctors.
Right. That's not too bad at all.
So the coat has literally paid off in the long run.
See, I remember. I mean, I kind of like the coat. It's
iconic, really. I think
even back in what was it, 1984? Oh crikey! Whenever it was when I first saw it, I thought, okay, well that's interesting, but I don't know. It's just so. I mean, Big Finish did a thing where they changed it to a blue coat in some of the artwork, didn't they? And that looked okay, but it seemed to kind of lose something. It was you could look at it as a sort of expression of the evolution of the Sixth Doctor's character, that he kind of grew past that almost childish adolescent stage and was now a bit more mature, but it seemed to lose some of the excitement or the verve represented by the different colours. I don't know if that makes any sense. Maybe I'm not expressing it, but
it was a pragmatic budget decision, because I always said, why doesn't the Doctor, like everybody else, change his clothes every now and then, because you make one costume,
and it tends to
that lasts a series. So for some reason, Doctors wear the same thing every day. What?
It's
The
true.
Change. I mean, it just makes no sense to me. But there's a budget in the costume department, and if the Doctor had to have something new designed for him every single story, it would add to the budget, and that's the nitty gritty of why I was stuck with that.
I think that was probably more prevalent, I think, during Peter Davison's Doctor, because I think there was him, Mark Strickson, who played Turlough. Turlough always wore this a scratty school uniform that looked like it'd never been washed. Every flipping day, he's there putting his tie on, and the tie looks like it's been on for 3 days after he's finished tying it up. It's like it becomes more of a costume, doesn't it, than like a superhero's costume rather than actual clothing.
Why can't you wear clothes?
Yeah, Jodie's Doctor changes her T-shirt sometimes, doesn't she? The 12th Doctor changed quite a bit. He had quite a few different outfits, didn't he? Which is quite unusual.
But they were more conventional.
Yes. Yeah, there's a difference, I think, between a costume in it being a shirt and tie and things like that, and an outfit, which is a bit more kind of flamboyant and superhero, perhaps in a way.
Do you have a favourite story of yours, Colin, from the TV?
Well, two Doctors because of Pat, really.
What's that? Sorry.
Of my stories, two Doctors because of Pat. Of the whole
two
canon,
Doctors.
No.
Go.
Oh, okay. Let's do that. Yeah.
And your audios as well.
Without question, my favourite is The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances.
Oh, okay, from the Ninth Doctor,
That one with the gas masks. Because that's when the Doctor was back. The Doctor was back. And those stories were fantastic. And I was a school governor back then, and of a primary school near me. And on the Monday after it was shown, I was out in the playground, walking through the playground where the kids were out, and they were all going, "Are you my mummy?"
Yeah.
I thought, yes, Doctor Who is back.
Yeah, that was a good
Was
moment.
it all watched?
That cliffhanger and that first part of that episode, and then the resolution, and it's just brilliant, isn't it? I remember just bursting out laughing. We go to your room. You know, it was such a good, way to resolve.
And that was the killing combination of the producer and auteur Russell T and the writer Stephen Moffat. The two of them together worked well.
I was just going to add actually that it's quite unique in the fact that it's the only story in which everybody lives. Just this once, everybody lives, and you see the joy in the Doctor's face and Chris Eccleston when he plays that.
And that was the line that made me think that's what Doctor Who is.
Quite right.
Yeah.
Everybody lives.
Yeah, I agree.
Have you listened to his Big Finish stories that he's done? They've
No,
been
I
brilliant.
haven't.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, great to have him.
I'm glad he's come back to us because I thought he was brilliant. He's a brilliant actor. I mean, one of the most memorable moments on television for me was Chris Eccleston in Cracker. I don't know if you watched Cracker.
No, I never did.
That was Robbie Coltrane's show, wasn't it? Yeah.
Robbie Coltrane was Cracker, and Scottish actor.
Was it Robert Carlyle?
Robert Carlyle.
Yeah.
Was the villain. I'm not going to spoil anybody if I tell you the story, am I?
No.
and Chris Eccleston was the policeman, and Chris Eccleston was killed by Robert Carlyle, and it was the most shocking piece of television, and brilliantly done by those three. I just loved it.
Yeah.
He's great.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're good.
He can stop banging on about being from Manchester, because so am I. But I'm the first Northern Doctor. No, you're the first Northern Doctor with a Northern accent, perhaps.
Yes. Well, I think Tom Baker's from Liverpool as well, wasn't he? So he should have been talking a bit more like that.
Yes, originally. Yeah.
All right there, Doctor.
When I went to drama school, it was beaten out of me.
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah.
When I was a spot like that, but you tend not to.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. I mean, just because when I was growing up, I kind of thought I could never be the Doctor because I had a northern accent, somewhere between sort of Middlesbrough and Huddersfield. I thought, I'm never going to be the Doctor because I talk like this, like it's just not going to happen. It's just weird. Yeah. And yet now,
when I was growing up, I thought the same because I wasn't an actor when I was growing up.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to be an actor first before you get to become the Doctor.
Yeah.
But actually, on that, because you were quite into Doctor Who, weren't you? Would you call yourself a fan? Because I remember when you got the role, it was like, I'm going to be the longest serving Doctor, and you are.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, well, talking about tilting at windmills.
God, put the mockers on it, didn't it? But you were a big fan at that point.
Yeah, I was. Of course, we didn't have video recording when I was watching it, and in 19.
Don't worry about that.
By 1969, I was an actor. Therefore, I tend to be working on Saturdays, in theatre. So I didn't see a lot of it. I saw all of Hartnell and all of Pat Troughton and some of Pertwee, and then that was about it for regular watching.
So you were kind of working and stuff like that. So Tom Baker was just kind of on in the background.
And you couldn't record it. So until recording came along, I didn't see much of it.
Yeah, our kids today have no idea about what it was like
instant.
back then.
It's all on demand like that. They can watch whatever they want, whenever they want. Doesn't matter if it's live, if they missed it, whatever. It's just bang, switch it on.
I keep having to explain this to my wife, who says, "Oh, we've missed whatever it was. It's all right. I can get it."
It's never really missed.
It's going to be an iPlayer or something.
Well, talking of TV, what stuff do you like watching at the moment, Colin? What's on your
on our agenda? Must watch All Creatures.
That's
the new version.
I love that.
It's wonderful, and the actress playing Mrs. Hall, I think, is stunning. They all are.
Yeah,
it is beautifully cast, and it's very rare that a remake is worth the trouble of remaking.
Quite right, absolutely.
But this one, because what they can do now, I mean, the countryside would have been problematical when they did it first time round, because you didn't have drones. The access to drones means you can get all these wonderful shots, and you really are there in the wilds of Yorkshire. It's just wonderful. I like Doc Martin. We watched Doc Martin. I like that. it's obviously run its course, and they're probably wise to finish it.
Is this a final series or something at the moment?
It is.
Yeah, it's you don't want to overstay the welcome on stuff, do you? And
those are the things I watch with my wife, and then when she's gone to bed, I tend to watch all the other stuff like Line of Duty, and which I loved. I've started watching the new Game of Thrones.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. Yeah. House of Dragons.
I've been enjoying that.
My daughter told me that the prequel to Lord of the Rings is brilliant.
Yeah, I've been watching that. I enjoyed that.
What else do I like? I like. Oh, I've been enjoying watching Professor T.
Okay.
Which is another police drama with Ben Miller in it.
I haven't seen that one.
As an
I've not heard of that.
Investigator. It's very good. Yeah, I like a lot of stuff.
That's quite a wide range, isn't it?
Yeah.
I quite like that.
I do like drama though. I'm not a great documentaries man, even though I saw a brilliant one last week. A guy I've never heard of, but he's probably very famous, going around the Lake District on BBC Two, and he went to Sellafield. In the programme in Sellafield, and the history of that place, and the fact that for the next 200 years they're going to be clearing it up still. Yeah. There's a staff of 1,000 working there full time, decommissioning a nuclear reactor, and they will be doing it for at least 50 years. Yeah. That's the kind of thing that ought to be on television more.
Kind of throws your face right up against it, doesn't it? Some of these realities here, and it's.
And the news has been quite interesting lately.
Well, that's been switching between a comedy show, a horror show, and political intrigue, and mostly a comedy sketch show at the moment. I think with all the farcical nonsense going on. But
there's some very clever people doing things on the internet.
Oh dear. Colin, before we move on, before we go, I have to ask you, right? Because I've just remembered now that I was trying to think what else you were in when I was sort of growing up, and I know you were in The Brothers, but you were also in an episode of Blake 7, where you pretty much chewed the scenery, in a brilliant way.
Paul Darrow.
Yes, and then Paul Darrow came back and did the same for you in one of your stories.
He did, yes.
Presumably, you guys got on all right at the time.
Yeah. I loved that part. I loved it. And Big Finish have allowed me to do it again.
Have they? Was it Baben?
I've done 4 or 5. Babens now.
I keep thinking Baben the Baby Killer, but Butcher and Baben, that's it.
Baben the Butcher, Baben the Berserker. I've done a novel about Baben's life. I've read it.
Have you?
Giving my Baben. Which is wonderful, his life story. Throwing his mother out the window and things like
lovely
that.
Stuff. The growing up story.
But I've done 3 or 4 dramas. One called Baben's Wife. I won't spoil it by saying what it's about. But
is it about Baben's
if you're
wife?
Into all that, it's about Baben and his wife. Mainly about Baben. And there's another one where I meet up with Villa again.
Oh right. I'll have to check that out. I'll have to get into that.
And they've played into my hands beautifully by making him the villain you can't help but like. You know what I mean? Right. He's so bad and gleeful in his badness.
Yeah.
He's not. Well, he is cruel, but he's not horribly cruel. He's funnily cruel.
Yeah, and then you can't help but like him.
Perhaps it's not a good idea because it might encourage people to do that. But I recommend them, and I bless Big Finish for letting me do them.
Brilliant.
And I want to be more.
Yeah. So it's almost like a kind of there's a theatricality to the cruelty, a performance to it, right? Where it's a bit of aggrandizement and stuff like that, which I love. It makes it memorable. Showboating. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Showboating. Yeah. Thank you, Colin. But then, of course, so we had Time Lash as well with Paul Darrow, where he came in and did that moustache twirling, sinister sort of backstabbing git.
Well, it was when John Nathan Turner, after because you rehearse for a week and then you have the producer's run, producer comes in and watches the whole show as if it were a theatre play,
like a dress rehearsal.
At the end of it, he said to Paul, "You sound like you're playing this as Laurence Olivier playing Richard III." He said, "Yes, that's exactly what I'm aiming for."
Was that what he said?
John Nathan Turner said, Don't do that. Don't give us Laurence Olivier. We want you playing this part." And Paul, foolishly, did not listen to John Nathan Turner. As a result, the part was actually quite cut.
Oh no, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was reduced.
Because they don't want too much.
Because there were some OTT moments, which the audience would have gone, "What?
What the blazes is going off here then?"
Because Paul did it with the kind of good intent, but I think it was more Blake Seven than it was Doctor Who. Whereas Baben was written to be like that.
Yeah. I suppose so. Yeah.
But the Malian Tecker was an opportunist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I can see that because in a way it's a shame because Paul Darrow in Blake Seven. I mean, his character Avon is phenomenal. I mean, isn't he? He dominates every scene. He is so. And the performance is right down. It's almost like he's underplaying it, and it cuts right through, and it's cruel, and it's funny, and it's sarcastic, and it's bittersweet in the right sort of ways. And then, of course, he comes on to Tom Lash and gives it the whole performance thing. But in a way, it's like Doctor Who can kind of accommodate that because you go from something like that, which is totally OTT, to something like Revelation of the Daleks, which comes after it, which is wonderful, very serious, very dark, very macabre piece of actual proper drama. And okay, you've got Alexis Sale in there doing his DJ thing, which is a bit mad, but it kind of just adds to the whole, the whole feel. I mean, you probably get. I love that story. That is honestly, I live for stories like that in Doctor Who. But the fact it can accommodate that and the ridiculous without stretching the format is a testament to why the programme is so successful.
Yeah,
it was only pointed out to me recently that if the Revelation of the Daleks had been 4 half-hour episodes instead of the 2 50-minuters, I wouldn't have been in the first episode.
This is true.
I didn't realise that.
That's a good point.
I don't appear till 20-odd minutes in. When we come to that wall and climb over it.
Yeah. But that's the format, though, isn't it? Because that's Eric Sayward writing to that format, knowing that he can actually set things up, take the time to set them up before we introduce the Doctor. Yeah. And I know that style has certain critics, and there's justification for that. Yeah. But personally, I love the idea of knowing something. I mean, knowing something about the setting the Doctor's walking into, so we see the Doctor's reaction to getting into, because it's actually at the end of is it the start of episode 2 in the second 45-minute episode where he confronts the Daleks, and by that time we know what he's walking into. We know the trap, and we feel, I think, great for it. That's what I think, anyway.
Yeah.
But you're right. The show is. I've described it as creatively unlimited. It can do anything, and that's when you can go, from dramatic to slightly silly, and it could do anything within it. There'd always be a way to justify. And there was rumours of a musical episode, wasn't there? Did you hear those, Paul, for one of Jodie's episodes? You could easily.
Big Finish did it, didn't it? Was it?
I did one.
It was one of yours, wasn't it?
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Was it? I can't remember what it was now. Was it a Pirates one or something like that? I can't remember now.
It was the Pirates.
Yeah.
The Pirates.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of Arabian Nights thing of me trying to save the life of a girl, and getting her through the night means that she wouldn't kill herself. And so at one point I started to sing, and the lovely Maggie Stables had the wonderful line, "Oh my God, I think he's going to sing." He is. He's going to sing.
He's going to sing. How bizarre. It's the end as we know it.
She was glorious, Maggie Stables.
I thought her character was fabulous. The way you two played off each other, it was brilliant. Yeah. She brought something out of the Sixth Doctor that I don't think we'd seen before.
No, it's nice to have a companion who isn't there just to order around or to do something silly, but who's an intellectual equal, and kept rocking the Doctor back on his heels, and she'd be right, and she'd, pop the pomposity.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
it was enough.
Which is great, and the Sixth Doctor's ideal for that, because he's so pompous and so ebullient, and she sees straight through it and puts it back in its place like that. And there's nothing the Sixth Doctor can do. It's like, I'll just go and rant off over it, something else then. It's brilliant. I think out of all the Big Finish stories, I think those are my favourite with Sixie. I think just because of that relationship that you guys had. And the drama, obviously, it's everything else. It's it's all good, brilliant. Yes, okay, so fabulous.
Well, Colin, I'm aware that we've taken up quite a bit of your time.
That's all right.
We've been having a great chat. I feel like we could probably keep talking, really.
Yes.
So
let's do that.
Wondered, what's next for you after Hannah the Baskervilles finishes?
Nothing that I know of.
Can you not
yet.
Tell us?
There's a couple of there's a couple of indie films with parts in them that are mine when they make them. There's one that's been bubbling over for months now, and they still haven't. I think they have started shooting again, which I can't talk about. But aside from that, nothing. But then I'm of an age now where I can claim to be semi-retired. The joy of being an actor is your retirement is dotted throughout your career. Whereas a guy who goes to an office every day retires at 65. I never went to an office every day. You work for 4 weeks, get 3 weeks off, work for a month, get a day off, all that. So over my career, I've probably worked as much as a guy who went to the office every day by continuing to work.
But into later years,
There aren't as many roles left for me. I won't get to play Hamlet now. Mind you.
You never know.
You never
know. You never know.
Didn't somebody else's
David?
Name, I forgot. Just play. David's a lot younger than I am. No, I won't bother.
Don't worry about it. So somebody was playing something, and but
there's at the moment there's nothing.
Yeah,
but I'm open to all things.
Quite right too. Yeah, but you know, I just have to say actually with the Sherlock Holmes thing, going back to that, I've just written myself a little note here that you are one of 3 doctors who have played both Doctor Who and or one of 3 actors who played both Doctor Who and Sherlock Holmes, and you're in very esteemed company. The other 2 being Tom Baker, and the other one being Peter Cushing, of course.
Oh wow!
Yes, so look at that. That's a unique.
Well, there you are.
Yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you. And
I like it when I notch up that because I also played Inspector Morse.
Oh, did you? I didn't know that, Governor. Really?
About 8 or 9 years ago, I did a 9 months on the stage, stage version of Morse, and I played Van Helsing on stage.
Ooh!
Oh wow!
Which another one you could.
Yeah. We had that because Peter Cushing's done Van Helsing as well. Yeah. I like that.
It's quite nice.
Yeah, that's quite good. Does it? I mean, I don't know. This might be a stupid question, but I'll try it and see what happens. But does it kind of mean something to you when you play a famous, well-known cultural icon like this? Does it give it an added dimension?
Of course, it does. I mean, usually, I mean, when the director rang me up and said he was doing Inspector Morse. I said, "Oh, God, who have you got playing it?" He said, "Well, I'm hoping you do."
I went, "You're going to
never
do
occurred to me for a second
that
he would ask me to play Inspector Morse.
It's pretty good.
And I was really chuffed.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you are. Because it's the kind of part that, all those parts are parts that a load of people would love to do.
Yeah.
You find yourself selected to do it. And a bit like Doctor Who, I mean, the one thing that delighted me about playing Doctor Who is I didn't have to audition for it. John Nathan Turner asked me to play it.
Yeah, that's an actor's dream, isn't it?
Wow.
To be asked to play. You know,
and all
we
the big
thought of
parts
you and you can do this.
like that.
Yeah.
I was offered that. Morse, the same. And all the piddling little parts where you've got, 2 or 3 scenes in a telly. You have to go and meet the director and read and all that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't get them.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
you got out of bed, you got all the way down there,
Yeah.
and you didn't get a bloody
It's
part
true
at
though,
the
isn't
end
it?
of it.
Yeah, it's true though for actors, isn't it? You know, you can go and spend all day auditioning and do multiple in a week, and not
Who was
get
it?
any
Who
of
was
it.
it we spoke
Yeah.
to, Jeff? Kevin McNally, wasn't it? We did an interview with Kevin McNally, Colin, a little while ago, and he was telling us that he got to the stage where he just didn't want to bother anymore because he wasn't getting the part, so he just sat there with his drinking wine, and he gets this call to go and audition for something, and he wasn't going to do it, and his friend was pushing him to do it. Go on, do it, and he was half toddled anyway because he'd had a few glasses of whatever it was he said, and of course that turned out to be his role in Pirates of the Caribbean, which he's never looked back from since. So
he said, if I hadn't, if his friend hadn't made him do it and he hadn't gone, it changed his career after that. And we talked about you have to take every opportunity that you can, even if it means you're auditioning, and
it's got to be hard though. The resilience as a person, you've got to have to do that. It's got to be right up there.
But
I would never have met my wife because I was going to turn down a part in a play which was a 3-month tour of Sweden in the Mousetrap.
Oh right.
In Private Lives.
Right,
Private Lives. I had a dog. I was living on my own with my dog, and I said I can't leave my dog for 3 months. And this friend of mine said, a producer he was. He said, "You've got to do it. I'll look after your dog."
So he said.
And he did. And I went and I met my wife.
It's things like that change your life, don't they?
Yeah. Those tiny little pivotal points in life where
and you might go to an audition that you don't get, but the director and producer remember you. Because often, it's literally you're not right for it, but it doesn't mean you're bad. But you can be remembered and get a call again, and 6 months, a year later, or something.
The very first play I ever did was Roads to Freedom in 1969-70, and I went to meet the producer, and I'd been suggested for the part by my agent, and I read it for him, and he said, "Yeah, I'd like to do that." And I said, I don't think I'm right for it. It was a rapist, a very unpleasant part. I don't think I'm right for it. I said, the other part's a bit smaller, but I'd rather do that. No, I want you to play it. And the producer was the only producer I've ever met who would have done that. All the others was, bugger off then if you don't want it. What are you doing here? But I got to know him quite well, and he was counter-suggestive. If anybody ever said no to him, he took that as a challenge.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Really?
I played into my own hands by saying, no, I'm not sure. And I played it. And as a result, I got all those wonderful parts I got in the 70s of horrible men, rapists, seducers, villains. Tiny pivotal moment again.
You just never know how it's all going to play out.
Come out another one.
Yeah. So is it true then that John Nathan Turner decided you were going to be the Doctor, in his mind at least anyway, when he saw you entertaining a bunch of wedding guests at a party? Is that true? Or something?
That's what he says. I can't. But I couldn't possibly comment. Yeah, he does say. I mean, he had it in mind anyway, because I got on well with him when I played Maxill.
Oh, yeah, of course.
In Infinity. And
another evil man,
Well, no, he wasn't. He was a Jobsworth.
Okay, yeah. Well, that makes him evil for me, but
Jobsworth. He wasn't evil. He was
quite right.
Doing his job and doing it well. Of course, as an actor, you could never think I am playing an evil man.
True. People don't think they're evil, do they? They just do what they
their
do.
actions.
They
They
rationalise
think they're
it,
right.
and it's that process of rationalising those things that's where the drama is.
And we got on well. and that, when Peter said he was leaving, which was soon afterwards, that was his initial thought. And then I went to the wedding of a girl who was the AFM that I got on well with on that production.
Yeah.
And they were all there. And it was one of those very few days in life when I was kind of, not sitting quietly, minding my own business, but kind of being funny. And apparently.
And everything was just kind of working for you, just one of those days, is it?
It was.
Yeah.
It might be the alcohol.
That can help sometimes.
The wedding. Yeah.
So
he and I got on well. As soon as we met, producers are usually a bit distant. They come in and watch, and give notes to the director. John Nathan Turner was a showman, and he was,
Yes.
he was showbiz, and he wore Hawaiian shirts, and he was there, and I liked him, and clearly he liked me.
I wasn't going to mention it, but it's such a shame that your time on the show ended the way it did. It absolutely breaks my heart. Just the way you
Didn't
were
do mine
treated.
any good either. And with retrospect, I just realised I was unlucky, because I'm still not ashamed of the work I did.
No, quite right.
I still, even when I look at it, I think that's all right. What's all the fuss about? But it was the combination of Michael Grade and the fella under him whose name also escapes me.
Whatever he was, I think
that guy.
Yeah.
But things out of your control and not due to you, and but your Doctor and your era has garnered massive amounts of love since then, and Big Finish has done wonders, and it's wonderful. Yeah,
I've heard all sorts of conspiracy theories since, but
people like a good old conspiracy, don't they?
I'm a great believer in the cock-up rather than the conspiracy.
Quite right.
All those things that
well, it definitely was a cock-up, wasn't it? With what they did,
that they never went to the moon and all that.
Yeah.
You'd never get all the people involved in that to keep their gob shut for.
Yeah, do you know, I was thinking about that recently because I was looking up, I can't remember, my wife and I were looking up about did they really land on the moon, and I had the exact same thought, Colin. It suddenly hit me like, how do they silence all these people for all these years to not say anything? How much are they paying them per month on, retainer for silence?
Someone would say something.
Exactly.
You say that though, right? So if you think about it, they all the rocket technology was all around in the 60s. That's when it reached its kind of. So 1969, they had the technology to send somebody to the moon and get them back. But now we're in 2022, and we still can't get a flipping printer to work properly every time consistently. Why is that? We can build rockets, we can build drones, we can even make dinosaurs come out of my bedroom window, but we can't get a bloody printer to work any time ever. Yeah, I want your printer. I'm going to stick with that.
I've had my Samsung laser here for 10 years. It's never let me down.
10 years?
Can I
Goodness,
borrow
I'm going through
yours,
a printer
Colin?
every 6 months. It's
Are you
pretty
really?
much.
But the thing that with mine that annoys me is when it gets confused.
Mine's
and
always
then it stops
confused.
printing,
Mine doesn't even know what country it's in.
Waiting, and you sit there for like a quarter of an hour waiting for it to take another piece of paper.
Is yours the wireless one?
No, mine's wired because I couldn't get it to work on the Wi-Fi, and I thought not having any of that. Yeah, still gets confused.
No printer problems.
Yeah, if your printer goes missing, Colin, it's me or Paul.
So Colin, would you have any messages for fans who enjoy your stuff? And actually, no, I'll tell you what about any words for fans of Doctor Who are quite new to it, because it's garnering fans all the time, and we've got people who are yet to discover or are starting to discover all these old stories. Anything from you to those guys that would encourage them to go and watch the Six Doctors epics? We'll put some wind effects in there.
Doctor Who's been around for nigh on 60 years, and the only reason it stays around is because throughout that time it was good.
Yes.
It was well done, and it was loved. It was loved by the people who made it, and it was loved by the people who watched it. And that's a perfect combination. So you can blindfold yourself, stick a pin in any of the Doctors, pick an episode, and I bet you'll like it.
Yeah, there will always be something to enjoy.
Quite right.
Always in any episode. And you're right, Colin, it's a show. What other show has gone on for this long, had this much, ancillary material, books, audios, comics, magazines, and all of that? It really is unlike anything else that's around, I think. And that's because of the love, behind the cameras and from the fans. And that's what keeps it going, I think.
Trekkies might disagree with you, but apart from that,
that's a good point.
No, Star Trek hasn't been going as long as Doctor Who. Star Trek was later than Doctor. If Doctor Who started 63, I think Star Trek was 66-ish.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah,
these new guys on the block.
Yeah, babies,
little babies. They don't understand it all, do they?
Yeah.
They've got no idea.
Little shut.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, it's brilliant. It's been fabulous talking to you, Colin. I can't thank you enough for spending
thank you.
your time
This
with
has
us.
been
for an hour and a half.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Hey. Yeah, dear.
We're quite often happens,
does
doesn't it,
me.
Paul? When we have
Yeah.
someone come on the show and they say we can talk for 45 minutes or an hour or something, and then we end up going over, and which because we're having a good time.
Which is
I
a
think, really.
tribute to your skill.
Oh, thank you.
Well, yeah,
Because I didn't look at the clock. If I had it, I'd have been off.
Well, I think we had that with was it Rona Monroe, and she had to run and catch a
Yes.
train, and we looked at the clock and we
Yeah.
couldn't say goodbye. She literally just had to go, boom, right, I'm off.
Yeah, we were like, okay, goodbye. yeah, we really pushed it fine. Hopefully, she made the train.
Yeah, I
we didn't
hope
hear
so.
that.
You'll never see it again.
Yeah.
But no, Colin, honestly, it's it is a real life moment to meet you, and I wish we could do this in person, but it's virtual is brilliant. And
Next time, maybe.
thank you so much for sharing your stories with us.
Yeah,
mate.
thank you.
It's been an
It's
absolute
been
pleasure.
brilliant. I'm due to come and see you in Hannah the Baskervilles in Red Hill next Friday.
Oh, blam, that's our first night.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah,
Got it.
I'll keep my heckling to a minimum.
Okay, please.
Colin,
Get
it's
off.
Jeff. Hi, it's me. You remember me from the podcast?
Maybe I'll storm on stage, and pretend I'm the director, and start rearranging it.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to coming and watching it. Your nearest show was sold out, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Paul? So
Andover's
you couldn't.
Reasonably close-ish to me. I think that's the best one.
Yeah.
Already sold
Already
out.
sold out, mate. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
high expectations. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Very high expectations.
Oh.
Yeah, we got tweeted by is it Crime and Comedy? Is that the company that's running it?
Yeah.
And they said would we like to come and watch it, and then we could review it and talk about it and stuff. So yeah, looking forward to it.
They're making me get rid of my beard.
Oh really?
I don't look like,
Love the
I
bit.
don't look like what anybody thinks of as Sherlock Holmes anyway. So
No, I
what the
don't see
beard
why you
matters much.
can't have that. Yeah, that's quite identifiable with you, isn't it? You've
At the
always
moment,
had that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love the beard. I style myself on your visage,
Yeah.
Colin. Nothing wrong with a bit of growth on the chin there. A little
Yeah.
chin curtain. It's distinguished, isn't it? That's what it is.
But
You
suit
didn't need to
capture.
dye yours silver.
Oh, yeah,
Just,
I had some excess paint from whitewashing garage earlier, so I thought I'd use it on my face, Aye.
Hey, up, lad.
Up there, dear.
Great.
If it's not,
Bloody great.
Aye, smashing. Right, on that note, right.
Yeah.
Thank you again,
Take care,
Colin.
Jake.
It's been an absolute
Thank you very much,
pleasure.
sir.
See you in Red Hill.
Indeed.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Bye.